2 days. That was all it took for the entire city to fall apart. The Monokumas were one thing, but when those brats showed up, children fitted in helmets resembling the monstrous bears, swarming the city, began popping up by the hundreds, calling themselves the Monokuma kids. Whatever tech was in those metal helmets allowed them to take control of the Monokumas, and it was all downhill from there. They slaughtered their own families before turning on the adults, butchering anyone and everyone they could get their hands on. The kids treated the whole situation like some kind of video game. Toko looked up from her notes. She was seated on the edge of a roof, legs dangling over the side. Her gaze fell down on 2 Monokuma kids in the street below her, handling a dead body like a puppet. Toko tightened her grip on the pen. Human life was such a fragile thing. To see so much blatant carelessness for it just made her sick. As if you have any right to be the judge of that. Toko winced at the barbed stray thought cutting into the back of her head. She tried to bury herself back into her notebook. The Monokumas were just their toys. The adults, too. Just playthings for them to watch fight each other like ants under a magnifying glass. Future Foundation tried and failed to take back control of the area. Every time they sent in reinforcements, they were forced to retreat. And that was if they were lucky enough to survive. Master Byakuya still remains missing. As the stranger told me when I got here, he's somewhere in the city. However, this headquarters he spoke of, I can't seem to find any trace of it. The adults left here are so hell-bent on their own survival they won't trust anyone. And I can never get close enough to one of the brats to question them. I'm completely alone, and I'm running out of options. Whoever masterminded this, they seem to have thought of everything. With a sigh of defeat, Toko closed the small red book. Trying to act like the ultimate detective isn't gonna get you anywhere, Fukawa. She chastised herself before shoving her notes in a pocket. How the hell does this help Kirigiri anyway? I feel like I'm writing a damn diary, not taking notes on an investigation. Toko huffed in frustration. She looked over at the city, feeling the wind blow through her hair as the elusive zeppelin drifted overhead, a watchdog of the city. She had watched that airship destroy all hope of leaving this place over and over again. It was a force to be reckoned with, but only those attempting to escape. It never attacked aircrafts that traveled to the city. Toko bit her fingernail as the stress of the situation began creeping back into her thoughts. 2 days. She'd been there for 2 days, and she had learned nothing. No progress was made. Hell, she couldn't even find out the name of this shitty city. At this rate, finding Master Byakuya was going to be impossible. She was going to run out of time. How long would these disturbed kids wait before finally just killing him like all the other adults? She wouldn't let him die. She couldn't. He was her sole reason for existing. Without him, she was nothing. She would save him at any cost. Almost. The deal that stranger proposed, it was such an easy request. Find Naegi's sister and drop her at the doorstep of the enemy. Simple. Heartless. Toko knew that they'd kill her. She wasn't a fool. It'd be like leading a lamb to the slaughterhouse. No better than killing her myself. She drew her knees up to her chest and let out a muffled groan. I can't do it. I promised him. I promised Master. Toko wiped the tears in her eyes. No more killing. That was the deal. Knowingly leading someone to their death is still murder. She sighed quietly. But 2 days had gone by now, and she was still no closer to rescuing Byakuya than the day she watched him leave the helicopter. I'm running out of time. A distant scream caught her attention, and Toko looked up to see a figure and a parachute gliding out from the zeppelin in the clouds. Her gray eyes narrowed. Another one? This was the 3rd person she'd seen drop from the airship in the last 2 days. Each time, the person would find themselves swarmed by Monokumas. It was a pain trying to get them out of danger, but it wasn't like she had much of a choice. Toko stood up, withdrawing the stun gun she had come to rely on a lot since coming to the city. Every time someone came from that zeppelin, there was a chance it could be Byakuya. She had enough experience to recognize an execution when she saw one, and these unarmed people getting dumped into an onslaught of murderous robot bears was definitely someone getting rid of their excess prisoners. She wasn't just going to sit by when there was a chance her master, or someone who knows where he could be, was about to get massacred. That was all there was to it. It's not like she thought she could make up for anything by saving a few people here and there. Toko dug her fingernails into her wrist, trying to focus on the sting over the dreadful feeling in her chest.
Stop it! Focus, you idiot! This isn't about you!
She let out a shaky breath and raised the stun gun to her temple.
Follow the parachute. Find out what they know.
Toko pulled the trigger and slammed her eyes shut. When they opened again, they were red. An ecstatic giggle rolled out of the young woman as she straightened up a bit more confidently.
Another rescue mission, eh?
Red eyes fell on the figure drifting towards the cityscape.
Man, at this rate, we're going to have to seriously consider rebranding,
she said with an airy sigh. The ultimate murderer took off at a sprint, leaping off the rooftop to the fire escape of the next building over with ease. She hopped onto the guardrail, balanced as perfectly as a professional tightrope walker.
Can't keep calling ourselves the ultimate murderer if we don't murder anymore, you know? That'd be like still calling a caterpillar after it already went through its metamorphosis stage.
She laughed to no one in particular.
Well, as long as we still get to tear into something, I guess it doesn't matter what little Miss Sourpuss points us at.
She grinned. With an elated hum, the young woman reached into a hidden holster strapped to her thigh and pulled out a pair of silver scissors. She let out a cackle and leapt from the rail to the next building over, slamming the scissors into the wall. Like a climber scaling the mountainside, she used the embedded blades to hoist herself to the top of the roof. The figure in the parachute's screams were getting louder. She watched them land on the roof of a ruined hospital. An echo of mechanical distorted laughter brought her attention below. Dozens of Monokumas were already making their way up the sides of the rundown building, clawing up the walls like rats.
Disgusting little toys,
she said with a huff.
What a pain! No matter how hard they try, nothing will stop us from...
The ultimate murderer paused as the breeze hit her, bringing in a familiar scent. Her red eyes widened and her lips curled back into a large grin.
Master...
They sprung towards the hospital with lightning speed, vaulting over the rooftops and skipping along telephone wires. She was at the hospital in a flash, silent as a panther on the hunt. Her scissors took out 3 bears as she made her way up to the roof. Or was it 4? With 2 more decapitated Monokumas dropping to the streets below, she decided to stop keeping count. Hopping the chain-link fence was as easy as breathing to her. There wasn't a barrier around that could keep her out. Hunting instincts took over and processed the scene before her in a heartbeat.
4 Monokumas on the ground, 2 approaching the person under the parachute. Too small to be master, but not small enough to be one of those mass brats. Find the source of master's scent.
She sped off to take out the bears closest to the parachute first. A single bound over the first 2 Monokumas landed her directly behind the others. And like a viper, she struck, slashing through the metal skulls of the toys down their backs. The 2 fell to the ground in 4 sparking halves. With a hiss, she whirled around just in time to block the massive claws of the other 2 opponents. 1 cut, 1 block, 2 cuts, 1 kill. The attacks were simple as she expected. These kinds of Monokumas weren't a threat to someone with an ounce of fighting experience. The final slash of her scissors swept across one bear's throat and landed in between the eyes of the second. No blood. There never was. Boring. Both bears dropped lifeless to the ground, and the ultimate murderer burst into a cackle of laughter.
Killing these things just isn't like my fire!
She twirled her scissors around in her hands before looking back at the parachute. As expected, it wasn't her master looking back at her.
Another rando.
She mused to herself.
A girl this time.
The person curled under the parachute stared up at her with wide eyes that reminded her of a lost puppy. Green eyes.
Wait. We'd know those sappy, hopeful eyes anywhere. Naegi's eyes. Found you!
The Monokumas at her feet burst into flames, the explosion throwing the parachute back from the young woman and exposing her fully. The ultimate murderer neared her before she blinked an eye, inches from her face.
Hey, you!
The girl yelped in surprise at the piercing red eyes flickering over every inch of her, studying her.
You're Komaru Naegi, right? Right? Isn't that right?
The ultimate murderer was practically vibrating with excitement. 2 days of nothing, no progress on her hunt. Now she had her hands on the key to victory itself. The girl continued to say nothing. She just stared at her. There was no fear in her eyes either, just bewilderment. Red eyes narrowed.
That wasn't allowed.
She flicked the point of her scissors at the girl's throat, and her voice lowered to an inhuman growl.
If not, you better tell us. I'll cut you up into little pieces and line you up at the meat counter.
With one threatening snip of her scissors, she watched the girl finally start to tremble.
There's that fear. Yes, that's right!
The girl spluttered out in a loud shout.
I'm Komaru Naegi!
The ultimate murderer lowered her weapon, turning her attention towards a creek behind her. More Monokumas. The chain-link fence rang out as dozens of bears began to crawl up the sides onto the roof, surrounding them. She heard the girl gasp in terror.
Oh no, there's more of them!
The ultimate murderer burst into laughter.
Man, what a pain.
She said in an airy sigh. Her eyes flicked to the right, and her scissors were sent flying into the head of a Monokuma trying to sneak over the hospital roof entrance. It exploded on impact, and the scissors landed in the ground back at her feet. The girl, Komaru, was still staring, open-mouthed at the burning bear when she was suddenly grabbed by the wrist. Komaru's rescuer yanked her into a sprint without any warning.
Time to run, Komaru!
And with another fit of wild laughter, the two ran to the other side of the roof. The ultimate murderer practically threw Komaru behind the tall air conditioning units. Her red eyes scanned over the roof, watching the bear slowly continue to drop in. They had about 5 minutes before those idiot machines finally figured out where they were. She finally faced Komaru and looked her over. They were around the same age. Komaru definitely a tad more youthful, and she didn't need the shabby school uniform the girl was wearing to tell her that. Reading people came with the job.
Can't hunt if you don't know your prey!
She looked healthy, this Naegi girl. No injuries, nothing that looked like it would slow her down. No weapons either. Just an odd-looking megaphone clipped to her belt loop. Not that it mattered. Just from one look at the girl's soft eyes told her that Komaru didn't have a violent bone in her body. Like her brother, there was absolutely nothing threatening about her. In fact, there didn't seem to be anything that stuck out to her at all about this girl.
So why do they want you?
It couldn't be just to get back at Naegi. She was sure of that. They would have just killed her already and sent proof of the murder back to her brother. This keeping her sister alive to fend for herself in the shithole town, this wasn't just about revenge. There was more to it. The ultimate murderer felt something inside her shift.
Wait, why do we care? None of that even matters. Who gives a shit about what they want with this girl? It's not our problem. We turn her in, Master comes back. End of story.
Red eyes met green, and once more, she felt something inside her shifting. It made every muscle in her tense.
This is officially above my pay grade.
The young woman grumbled silently. She turned her gaze back out to the bears tripping over themselves, trying to figure out where their targets had gone.
I kill things, not mull over pointless mysteries. Focus on the mission. One thing at a time. Analyze the bears. Something simple. Ah!
She found herself mumbling aloud after a moment.
So, that Monokuma is some kind of automaton robot. I see.
An amused grin formed on her face.
No wonder it sucks more than the other one. Well, that's modern technology for you.
Her tongue slithered over her lips as she got lost in her own train of thought.
I mean, it's not like this is sci-fi or something. It's borderline sci-fi at most.
She added before cackling. The ultimate murderer was instantly at full alert again, looking back at the trembling girl she had rescued. It was strange. She couldn't understand why, but something about the Naegi girl put her on edge. The sound of Komaru's voice alone was enough to make her want to get away. She didn't like it. It made her want to bury her scissors in between those pretty green eyes and be done with it.
Well now, there's no need to be that rude about it. She's not some cute boy, you know. Since when do we kill girls? Yes, madame!
She finally replied to Komaru, placing a hand on her hip and grinning at her.
What business do you have with us?
The brunette's gaze couldn't hold hers. It flickered to the ground, to the side, anywhere else but back at the red eyes in front of her. The ultimate murderer found herself raising an eyebrow. There was no trace of fear in Komaru's nervous expression, yet she could not look her in the eye. This girl was very strange indeed.
Are you here to rescue me?
Komaru asked. Once again, the ultimate murderer felt herself tense.
She knew we were coming? Did that white-haired bastard set us up?
She bristled.
We're starting to get really tired of this middleman business.
Without a word, she marched up to Komaru and pointed her scissors at the girl's face. Komaru let out a yelp, stumbling back in terror.
Komaru, was it? If we call her a boy's name, then we can kill her, right? It's Komaru. Komaru Naegi. Oh, no, that's not gonna work. She's too loud to be a boy. How annoying. And where's Master Byakuya?
The ultimate murderer took another threatening step towards Komaru.
You know where he is, right?
The girl blinked at her in confusion.
Huh?
The red eyes moved to the megaphone clipped to Komaru's back. She twirled her scissors in her hand before sniffing the air and shivering in delight.
That gun you're holding! It's dripping with the master's scent!
Komaru blinked again, this time raising an eyebrow herself.
You can smell it?
The silver blades were back at the brunette's throat in an instant.
You got a death wish or something? Hiding the master from us will cut your life expectancy. No.
Komaru shook her hands out in front of herself frantically, backing herself against the AC unit.
I'm not hiding! All right, I've heard more than enough out of this puppy-eyed girl. She isn't going to give us anything useful. 10, 9, 8, 7...
The ultimate murderer started impatiently snipping her scissors to the beat. Drawing closer and closer, she found herself grinning madly at the fear rising in Komaru's face.
Oh my! She's even cuter when she's quivering. We are so killing her! What are you doing?
Komaru's nervous gaze flicked back and forth between the scissors and the bearer's eyes, now inches from her own.
What's one dead girl to our spotless record? Besides, we're probably doing her a favor. Whatever those brats had planned for her couldn't possibly be as painless as will be. Think of it as a mercy kill. If you don't give us our master by the time we get to 0,
the young woman started as she hovered over Komaru.
I'm gonna cut you like wet mochi!
She reveled in the panic now plastered on the Naegi girl's face.
4, 3, 2?
She started counting faster, getting even more impatient.
Hold on!
Komaru's flustered voice did nothing to dampen the ultimate murderer's spirits. If anything, it just solidified her fate.
I really don't know. 1.
The ultimate murderer finished. Her grin widened into a wild smile. Komaru looked like she had stopped breathing altogether.
Time to put old puppy eyes to sleep!
The scissors never moved. Red eyes flicked down at her arm in confusion, seeing her hand trembling.
What? No.
The trembling spread over her body until every muscle felt like she was vibrating. For the first time in many, many years, she felt a twinge of fear.
Stop it!
The ultimate murderer scoffed in annoyance under her breath when she realized what was happening.
Man, you really don't let us have any fun anymore, Fukawa.
The scissors dropped to the ground, and the red eyes were gone. Toko Fukawa shook her head, feeling disoriented and woozy, like someone had just knocked her skull against a wall. What the hell just happened? Did they just switch on their own? Well, that's new. Toko's vision finally cleared, and she found herself staring at a total stranger near inches away from her face. Toko practically shrieked, gray eyes wide as she leapt back from the stranger. Who are you? Toko watched the confusion contort the teenage girl's face.
Huh?
That kind of reaction could only mean one thing. Toko winced. She hated this part, having to explain this mess to people over and over again. Before she opened her mouth, she was hit with a wave of scattered thoughts and emotions that weren't her own. Brief flashes of memories she didn't recognize. Toko looked over the girl in front of her once more, dread filling her stomach and making her feel sick.
Oh, wait. Don't tell me. You're Komaru Naegi, aren't you? I got it, right? Please be wrong. Please be a mistake. Don't tell me.
I just told you that.
Damn it.
Toko bit into her fingernail, thoughts racing.
Oh, did you? Why did it have to be you?
Her frustration and despair were starting to hit a boiling point.
I can't help it, you know,
she snapped, startling Komaru.
I don't share memories with her. Coherent ones, anyway.
Komaru's brow furrowed, her head tilting to the side like Toko had just told her something insane, like that the earth was actually shaped like rock candy.
Her? Memories?
The girl clutched at her hair and shook her head. Toko stared in surprise.
Jeez! Stop saying stuff that makes no sense!
She sounded on the verge of tears.
Everything is confusing enough as it is!
The Ultimate Writer's gaze turned somber.
She sounds just like them. Just like every one of us at Hope's Peak, when we first woke up without our memories.
Toko thought sadly. Panicked, confused, desperate for answers. She was all too familiar with that feeling. The sound of footsteps brought Toko out of her memories, seeing Komaru march right up to her with the most intense expression shining in those bright green eyes.
At least tell me whether you're an enemy or a friend!
She demanded. Toko stared back at her, mouth open and trembling. Enemy or friend? It should be an easy question. It was.
If only the answer was that simple, too.
She had to make a decision, use this girl or keep up her useless search. Toko dug her nails into her wrist and lowered her eyes to the concrete.
Well, you can call me your ally, but you shouldn't.
Toko waited for the suspicion, the snappy remark saying that she would have to prove her loyalty. They never came.
Then come on! If we don't hurry, we're gonna get attacked!
Komaru didn't even blink. She just kept talking as if they had been working together for weeks already. Toko's gray eyes snapped up to meet hers in disbelief, flabbergasted by this girl's blind faith. Seeing Komaru's worried gaze turn to the bear starting to close in, finally forced her out of her speechless stupor.
It's all right.
Komaru looked back at Toko.
Huh?
No, it's all right. I can do it, because I made a promise with him,
Toko said dreamily. Her mind drifted off into a risque fantasy with her master. Finally, she had found herself feeling lighter than she had in days, even if it was only for a moment. When Toko came down from her high, she found Komaru staring at her as if she had grown a second head.
Are you okay?
Komaru asked carefully, her face as red as her uniform ribbon. Toko flushed in embarrassment, wiping the drool from her face and praying to every god she knew of that she hadn't said anything out loud.
Like I said,
Toko said quickly, changing the subject as fast as she could.
It'll be all right. I can make good use of her now. I've learned a lot since then.
She finished in a lower tone. Komaru watched her start to walk away from their hiding place.
We're gonna take them all down, right here, right now. I'll smash them to pieces.
Toko tried to stand up a bit straighter before looking back at the teenage girl, looking towards her in awe. For the second time, Toko felt her face flush with the distracting green eyes staring back at her, and she had lost all focus in that instant.
Let's go! Maru Naegi?
The brunette's face scrunched up in response.
Maru?
Toko's face turned even redder, registering her mistake. She picked up the pair of scissors on the ground with a nervous laugh.
I just meant,
She pulled out her stun gun without saying another word. One pull of the trigger, and the ultimate murderer took off towards the Monokumas, cackling wildly. It didn't take long. Scissors tore through nearly every bear, sending titanium scrap parts flying. The roof was soon decorated with explosions like fireworks, Monokumas bursting into flames one by one. She felt Komaru's eyes on her the entire time. It was extremely distracting. As incredibly easy as these targets were, the ultimate murderer did in fact find herself making some very stupid mistakes. At the sound of a strange blast,
Her eyes flicked away from the bear she currently had her scissors embedded in. The Naegi girl was using that strange gun. She shot away balls of energy at the Monokumas drawing too close.
Huh, the girl can actually hold her own.
The ultimate murderer was suddenly thrown back, the bear under her grasp shrugging away her grip. Its claws lashed out at her wildly, seemingly unfazed by the 2 pairs of scissors buried into its face.
Hey, watch out!
A blast of energy collided with the Monokuma in front of her, sending it reeling. With a snarl, the ultimate murderer leapt up from the downed bear and tore out her weapons. The force ripped the robot's head in half. In the same breath, she flung her scissors at the 2 final Monokuma left. The blades flew right by the sides of Komaru's head into the red eyes of the bears behind her.
Watch out yourself!
The young woman hissed as she walked past a startled Komaru. She scowled at the downed robots, forcefully tearing her scissors out of the Monokumas and shoving them back into their holster.
Stupid girl.
She grumbled to herself in annoyance.
Who did this chick think she was?
Her red eyes narrowed at the Naegi girl approaching and she quickly reached for the stun gun.
She's your problem now.
Komaru clipped the megaphone back into her belt loop, watching the black-haired girl shake her head after a zap from the gun. Gray eyes met hers as she straightened her glasses. That was all of them, right? Toko asked cautiously, looking around the roof to see all the remains of the Monokuma scattered around.
Amazing.
Toko looked back to see Komaru smiling at her.
That was amazing!
The ultimate writing prodigy blinked in surprise, finding herself completely taken aback by this girl once again. She just watched a complete stranger tear through an entire army of militarized machines like they were piñatas at a kid's birthday party, and there wasn't a trace of fear in her face. In fact, the only word Toko could use to describe the emotion in Komaru's soft eyes was admiration. This was indeed a very strange girl.
What was that just now? It's like you're a totally different person.
Komaru said excitedly. Toko took a step back from her, gritting her teeth and lowering her gaze. Too casual, she huffed. Komaru's head tilted to the side once again.
Huh?
It reminded Toko of a dog trying to understand a command from its owner, an innocent act of confusion, endearing and almost cute. Suddenly, her other half's anger towards the Naegi girl made sense, and Toko felt herself instantly throw up every wall of defense at the high school girl.
Don't speak to me so casually!
Toko snapped. The harsh tone of her voice made Komaru wince.
Like I'm one of your friends or something? I'm your senior.
Toko watched the Naegi girl shuffle back, feeling both relieved and guilty at the distance.
But you still haven't told me your name.
Komaru said, sounding a lot quieter than before.
You're being cruel. This girl probably thought she was going to die 5 minutes ago, and here you are, chastising her like a hall monitor. Get over yourself, Fukawa. It's not like she's asking you to give her your bank account number.
Anxiously picking at the chewed skin of her thumb, Toko let out an exasperated sigh.
I'm sure you're just going to forget it right away, but it's Toko Fukawa.
Komaru crossed her arms and slowly repeated it back.
Toko Fukawa.
Toko glanced up at her to see the girl pondering over her name deeply, and suddenly she felt her stomach doing somersaults. Anxiety started squeezing her insides until it hurt, and Toko blurted out her next sentences out of instinct.
Oh, sorry for having such a boring name. I bet you think it's perfect for a hag like me, right?
She practically spat, startling Komaru out of her thoughts.
I don't think that at all.
The girl insisted. Toko watched her brow furrow in concern for a moment, opening her mouth to say something before deciding against it. Instead, Komaru's gaze flicked off to the side and she fiddled with the thick, black wristband on her arm.
Anyway, what was that all about earlier? You were a completely different person.
Toko flinched. Now it was her who looked away.
I couldn't tell you.
What?
I don't remember.
Toko admitted quietly.
Didn't I already tell you? We don't share memories.
I don't really get it.
Guilt and shame clawing at her insides, the ultimate writing prodigy groaned in anger.
It's like I said!
Toko barked, her face reddening both in frustration and humiliation as she glared at the brunette.
I have split personality! That
girl wasn't me! The blank look on Komaru's face only made Toko feel worse, and she was forced to turn away as she continued. She is the ultimate murderer! People used to call her Genocide Jack. Silence. 3 beats of silence, and Toko's heart was pounding in her chest. Her anxiety was making her tremble. She felt sick. She knew what came next. The fear, the disgust. She'd seen it so many times she had most people's reactions memorized. It never surprised her. Hell, she couldn't blame anyone for taking one look at a freak with a serial killer inside of them and running for the hills. She just wished she could make it stop hurting every time it happened.
Okay?
Toko whipped around to face Komaru, once again instincts taking over as she lashed out. You don't believe me, right? You think I'm just some filthy woman who's sick in the head! She could feel the tears stinging in her eyes, and it just made her angrier. At herself, at the world, at everything. You're probably wondering how a stupid pig managed to learn how to talk, aren't you? Komaru's eyes grew wide as she shook her head.
I don't think that.
She said quickly.
Oh, well, maybe the first bit?
She fidgeted with the wristband again.
I mean, it's true, it's a little hard to believe, and I was pretty surprised.
Toko watched her take a careful step to close the distance between them again, and she met Toko's gaze with a soft smile.
But if that's what you say, I believe you. It was a pretty drastic change, after all.
She chuckled. Toko's brow furrowed. Komaru's friendly expression seemed genuine, but that only made her more tense. She looked over the high school girl incredulously. Hey, you believe me just like that? What are you, stupid or something? She refused to believe it. People like this didn't exist. No one would ever just accept what she told Komaru. In her entire 18 years of existence, never had she met a single person who didn't either refuse to believe her condition or instantly want nothing to do with her the moment they found out the truth. Toko wrote stories about people who said what Komaru just did because they weren't real. Komaru groaned.
Well, what was I supposed to say?
She glared at the ultimate writing prodigy, frustration burning in her cheeks. Toko scoffed in response, shaking her head and mumbling to herself. Well, if you really are this stupid, that just makes this easier. It makes leading you into a trap easier. Leading you to your... She stopped the train of thought in its tracks. None of that. If she was going to give this girl up for her master, then she was going to do it believing they had no intention of killing her. Now you sound just as stupid as the girl.
It's just, I feel like I've heard the name Genocide Jack somewhere before.
Toko felt her shoulders tense at the mention of her other half. I see. So you still remember. Toko sighed. Well, no point in hiding it now. It was all over the talk shows back in the days, after all. Komaru's thoughtful gaze flicked back and forth, and Toko could practically see the gears turning in her head.
Talk shows? Wait.
Her bright eyes suddenly grew wide.
Could it be?
She shook her head.
No, never mind. It couldn't be.
Toko raised an eyebrow.
What?
The brunette chuckled.
It's just, I feel like I've heard a similar name on the news about some serial killer.
She said, sounding embarrassed, like it was silly, impossible. If only. Yeah, Toko admitted with another sigh. That's the one. Komaru's face paled.
What?
And there's the fear. Guess she's not a complete idiot after all. But that was just in the old days. Toko pathetically tried to explain. She knew it was pointless. Trying to damage control any of this was impossible, especially when it came to her. I've completely tamed her since then. Lie. Master commanded me to discover the secret, and I learned the stun gun does the trick. But she's also a stubborn brat who hates being told what to do. And depending on how much shock I give myself, after a while, I go back to my normal self. The young woman grinned proudly. Isn't it great? It's all thanks to Master Byakuya. If there was one thing she'd be honest about, it was that. Komaru shifted uncomfortably.
Well, anyway, it sounds like a good skill to have. With that power, we can get through 'em easy.
Toko frowned. Don't be dense! Didn't I just say I need the stun gun to change? My brain would fry if I just did it over and over. She shook her head. I can't just use it at will like that. Concern suddenly flooded Komaru's face.
Really?
Her soft eyes looked over Toko again, this time much more intensely. What was she looking for? Injuries? Toko felt her anxiety creeping back. Why did she care? Anyway, she said quickly, wanting the girl's attention literally anywhere else. Oh, what is your relationship with Master Byakuya? Her eyes narrowed at the megaphone. Why do you have that hacking gun? Komaru followed her gaze and winced.
I was saved by him earlier.
Toko caught the pain laced in the statement.
He gave this gun to me.
Toko's eyes widened. Saved? Master Byakuya saved you? A million thoughts raced through her head at once, dozens of emotions bubbling to the surface as she tried to process what Komaru just told her. He was captured because of her? Master was locked up somewhere in this god-forsaken city for her? Why? What the hell did she mean to him? She tried to ignore the ripple of jealousy coursing through her. It didn't make any sense. Master Byakuya never let anyone get in his way. He made sure no one would ever come before him or his mission of protecting his family's legacy. It's why he was so cold. It's why he never gave anyone the time of day. Never gave me the time of day. Toko's hands balled into shaky fists. Why would he throw all of that away? Risk everything for this girl? He had never even met her. She looked Komaru over once more, scanning over every inch, trying to find something, anything to explain why this was happening. But again, Toko found nothing. She didn't seem to have a noticeable talent. She wasn't carrying anything on her other than the hacking gun. It couldn't have just been her looks, could it? But the girl lacked in any noticeable skills she made up for in physical features. Toko couldn't deny that. She wasn't blind. Her perfect skin, her toned muscles that were impossible to miss in that damn school uniform that was a size too small for her, and her stupidly perfect figure. And her eyes. Those insanely distracting, soft puppy dog eyes that told you exactly what she was thinking. Shit, that had to be it. There was no way anyone with a soul could look this girl in the eye and not want to throw all caution to the wind for her. Seething with frustration, Toko neared Komaru and pointed a threatening finger at her dumbstruck face. You better not get ahead of yourself! She growled, trying her best to glare Komaru directly in the eye. Toko's defiance fell apart almost instantly, seeing her blink back innocently in genuine confusion. Just because you're ugly in a cute way. Damn this girl and her stupid, adorable face. Now she was getting into my head? Komaru lowered Toko's hands from her face, and the ultimate writing prodigy felt her blood boil. Even her hands were perfect, as soft as her idiotic, trusting smile.
Why are you angry?
Komaru splurted out, sounding flustered. Toko continued to glare at her. Remember this. I won't let anyone interfere with my romance with Master. I'm going to rescue Master. She started rambling. And then, in the heat of the moment, we'll...
Rescue?
Komaru suddenly took hold of Toko's hand.
Oh, wait, hold on. Byakuya was captured?
A mix of both relief and guilt washed over her face. Toko's eyes narrowed and she yanked her hand away. What? You just figured that out? Why would I even be here if it weren't for Master? She started anxiously twisting at her wrist. He was probably ambushed by cowards. There's no way he'd just allow himself to be captured. Unless he was protecting someone. She added bitterly to herself.
I see.
Komaru's somber response caught Toko by surprise.
So, he was caught after all.
The way her shoulders and head drooped, Toko thought she might as well had the word guilt tattooed on her forehead. The ultimate writer observed her carefully. There was no denying it. The girl was an open book. And a grade school book at that. Komaru had thought Master Byakuya dead, but learning he was taken prisoner had made her somehow feel worse. She was racked with pain, and Toko could tell by the subtle tremble in her hands and tears threatening to form in her eyes that Komaru was holding a lot back. Probably more than she could handle.
You know better than anyone what that's like. You better not feel responsible for this, Toko said with a frown. Your guilt would be an insult to my master.
You're right.
Komaru sighed.
My worrying won't change anything.
The sorrow in her voice seemed to take Toko by the heart and squeeze the life out of it. It was a feeling she had not felt before, and that terrified her. Toko couldn't remember another human being who ever made her feel so many things in such a short time. It was suffocating, like she was being shoved into a dark closet. All the air in her body left after that thought crossed her mind. She turned away with a groan, rubbing her face at all the overwhelming stress. Ugh, what's with this chick? Can't believe I gotta take this indecisive. If every moment with the Naegi girl was emotionally exhausting, then she was going to start considering throwing herself at the Monokumas.
What was that?
Toko flinched, having forgotten about how close they were to each other. She whirled around quickly. Nothing! And watch your mouth! She snapped. Komaru raised an eyebrow.
I'm so terribly sorry?
She doesn't know how to talk to you because you keep snapping at her like she's a child. Toko sighed, rubbing her face under her glasses. It's fine. You're a lost cause anyway. Komaru scowled at her in response, but she continued before the girl could say anything. But more importantly, I want to hurry up and find Master. Now is not the time to relax. Komaru nodded.
You're right. We've got to get out of this building.
She glanced back at the scratched-up door to the hospital. Toko cleared her throat. Oh, well then, after you. Komaru's head snapped back to her in alarm.
Huh? Why do I have to go first?
She raised an eyebrow. You have Master's gun, don't you? Komaru still looked unconvinced, so Toko continued. Don't worry. When you're really in trouble, I'll save you. Can't have you dying on me. The way Komaru's eyes lit up at her words had Toko's stomach suddenly doing flips. She quickly turned away before the girl could see her face turn red from embarrassment. Now come on! Stop staring into space and get moving already! You're not dead yet! Komaru let out a huff of frustration.
Fine,
she said in defeat, and started towards the door. Toko glanced back at the wrecked Monokumas one last time before following. Hang on for just a bit longer, Master. We're on our way now.